Welcome to Ideas, a time of conversation about all things board games. Community is built on conversations, and games are built on ideas.
Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy with the Chance of Meeples, and today on the channel we have a fresh new month and we have some fresh new ideas. Of course, ideas, that's this whole show, this whole topic, and community is built on conversation just like games are built on ideas. And every month, talk to a different designer in the board gaming industry and just talk about board gaming and their ideas and how they flesh them out to the products that we absolutely love. So today we have with us Christian Strain from Cardboard Alchemy. Am I correct in that?
That's correct. Yep. Just recently. Yep.
Perfect. And so I introduced you. Why don't you introduce yourself and kind of the work that you do now and what you've done in the past?
Okay. So right now I'm a producer at Cardboard Alchemy. They've most recently made Flamecraft, which is delivering right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting on mine to come to the door, actually.
As am I.
And yeah, this is a lot of people. And before that, I worked for Breaking Games, mostly working on Dwellings of Elderville, Asking for Troubles, which you have above you. And I have a fun little mask back here, hat that people got in conventions for.
Cool.
Working on that, working on a bunch of games for them, actually. I also worked for Gray Fox Games for a while, working on, was the art director for Reavers of Midgard, and worked a little bit on the Champions, especially the expansions, some of their Kickstarters and stuff like that. So,
wow.
Yeah, I've been working in board games. First started off as a hobby in 2012, I think it's whenever we launched our first Kickstarter. So
is that the original Kickstarter for Asking for Troubles?
No, that in 2012 was for a game called Evil Intent.
Okay.
It was mine and my partner's game, Aaron McDonald. She and I worked together to make this game. You were, evil kind of Bond-like villains trying to take over the world kind of thing. It was our first attempt. I think Tom Vassell gave it a 5.5, and I don't argue.
Okay.
First game, it did what we were happy enough to do. I think we got somewhere like 36,000 on Kickstarter, and in 2012, that was like, "Hey, you made it!"
Right.
That actually mattered. It meant that you could make the game. Make. I think we made 1,500 copies. And eventually, sold them all. So
very cool.
But that got us started.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to move into Asking for Troubles momentarily, but outside of board gaming, what do you enjoy doing? Is board gaming kind of like your main thing?
Board gaming's a big thing. Role-playing games as well. It's kind of different, but kind of the same, right? Mm-hmm. But outside of that, big movie person, film, stuff like that. In any kind too, like I like all the high up, and if you look at the top 100 movies and stuff, I've seen probably like 90 of them. And then I also like just fun popcorn eating superhero movies, whatever, trivia, stuff like that. We were talking just before this, like I'm not a big sports person and stuff, but I don't mind like if I go with a group of friends or something to something and they're all into it, I can enjoy that. Just anything that's small group of friends kind of hangouts, which is why board games is great, because board games pretty much that's what you're doing. It's hanging out with a small group.
So would you have a favorite movie of all time?
See,
put it on the spot.
Yeah. If you break it down in category, it's easier. Like if you say favorite comedy kind of thing or favorite action movie, stuff like that. Like I could tell you, favorite action movie is Die Hard. Favorite comedy is Clue, which I know is probably not the funniest, but it's still my favorite because of nostalgia. Yeah. But board game related.
Yeah.
Strangely.
Okay, so obviously I'll get into that momentarily, but let's back it up a little bit. You said you're into obviously board gaming, you're into like RPGs. What's your journey into board gaming, into the hobby?
So my brother, who I grew up with, is 7 years older than me,
Mhm.
and he was very much into this hobby already, board games and role playing games. He made up his own role playing games, still does. Um, and so, growing up under his, shadow wing, whatever it is, I was instantly pulled in to be the first player of those things,
Okay.
and sat at the tables with his friends and stuff. So I was pretty much just brought up into the playing games and stuff. I think the first game I really remember playing is like a board game is Talisman.
Okay.
I think like the second edition at that point. So in '84, I think it came out in something
Hmm.
like that. And I would have been what, 10, 11,
I
something like that.
wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been born
Oh.
yet.
So basically I was just raised on all kinds of geek stuff, Star Wars stuff behind me. I was raised on it. Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Okay. So speaking of Star Wars, and we'll get into Asking for Troubles momentarily. What's your favorite trilogy? The first three, second three, or like the latest three?
I mean, the original three is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also not one of these haters that like hated the first and stuff. I was in the newspaper, in my local newspaper, for waiting in line for a whole day for episode 1 in 1999. Like they
I
interviewed us and stuff.
I remember, yeah, in '99 with I was in junior high. That was like, man, that was bonkers fun and
Yeah.
just
I mean, I
exciting.
remember I was on the edge of my seat watching the Darth Maul fight and all that stuff. I loved it. When I came out, everybody was talking about how awesome it was and stuff. And it wasn't until, the internet wasn't as prevalent then, but it
Yeah.
wasn't until like a couple of days later I start hearing people having hate for it. I'm like, why? I enjoyed, it was popcorn, fun,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. So I take it for what it's supposed to be, just pure entertainment. And so now, like all geekdoms and stuff, I can start picking at stuff and saying, I don't like this, I don't like, of
Mhm.
all of them. You can do that for all of them.
Right.
But, the original three are my favorite. Although, to be honest, my favorite Star Wars stuff is in the series Clone Wars, Rebels, even Mandalorian now. So,
Mhm. I've been told from a coworker that like Clone Wars is just that good. And I was into it in junior high and I've kind of fallen out of it. But now my kids are getting a little bit older, so I'm waiting for the day that I can watch the movies with them.
yeah.
So that I don't know. I'm
Oh,
looking forward to that.
I always give this disclaimer when Clone Wars goes, because on Disney Plus, if you start watching it,
Mhm.
it came out all disjointed. Like the way you're supposed to watch it is the first thing you watch is season 3, episode 16, and then
Mm.
season 2, episode 16, and then the movie, and then season 1 to it's all over the place for like the first 2 seasons, 2.5. And it's because the channel that put out the cartoon put them out in just whatever mode that the studio made finished a cartoons,
Willy-nilly.
and it's all out of order. So unless you watch it in order, you'll have no clue what's going on.
Okay, good to
But
know.
if you watch it in order, it starts to become just like an amazing. And you go to starwars.com and they have the order that you should watch it on there. I don't know why Disney doesn't give you the choice, but
Yeah, exactly. So,
but anyway, yeah, it is. It's amazing stuff. In fact, I like your hat. I have a show that's the full 42, and this coming Monday we're doing our top 5 Star Wars moments. So
very cool. So when this airs, you'll have to go back and check that out. So
right, it'll
and
be
we'll
back.
talk about the full 42. I wore this because of that. No, actually, it's for Jackie Robinson. But whatever. Anyways, moving on. So Star Wars, sci-fi. When did you start this journey with Asking for Troubles? Like, what made you be like, hey, I want to make this game, and everything's going to be orange, and it's going to be called Asking for Troubles. Like, what's the whole kind of history in it, in a nutshell?
Yeah, so I designed this with my partner Aaron, just like the first game. And what happened was we've been talking about making more games after Evil Intent, after we learned many lessons.
Hmm.
And we decided to, in fact, this game is almost the exact opposite of that in many ways. But one day I was watching television and some advertisement came up. I can't even remember what it is now, but their logo, all the words were in orange on top of white. And I just thought, man, I love orange. Like orange is my favorite color. So then she was in the other room and I shouted and said, I want to make a game that's all orange. And she said, okay, I want to make a worker placement game. And we're just shouting from the other room to each other.
Right.
And I said, all right, can we put it in space? Because I thought I like space. And she said, yeah, as long as it's not, fight 'em, stuff like that, like typical space stuff. I said, no, let's do something weird and wacky. And then she said something like, maybe we could make fun of like the Tribbles on Star Trek and blah, blah, blah. And so it just kind of bounced back and forth like that. Until I want to say like the next day we had already drawn stuff on paper, put it on, poster board and just drew out spots and wrote on index cards and then started playing it there. That the rule of game design is get it on the table as fast as possible.
Right. Get it out of
If you
here.
do that, if you do that, if you can get a game concept to the table, I'll say within a week, then you're going to continue, But if you just let it linger in your head, I have game design ideas in my head and in notebooks that have been there for years.
Mhm.
So the best way to design a game is just like push it on the table, even if it's just barely playable. One turn, that's all you need.
So it goes from 2 to 7, and that's one of the reasons I love the game, because it's worker placement, which I had a revelation, I guess, last year that worker placement is kind of my favorite game mechanic. And it plays 2 to 7, and so obviously 2 players. You guys play tested it, just the two of you, but like play testing a game like this up to 7, like how is that? I guess nowadays you got tabletop simulator and online, so you can test it that way with multiple people all the time. How did you do that back in the day? Did you have just a constant game group?
Yeah, we have a game group. And so when we made it, eventually we got it to where it looked decent. I'm a graphic designer for 20 plus years. So everything I work on kind of starts off in the graphic design era. My first prototypes, by the time they hit like Tabletopia or whatever I put it on, or if I get them printed, like Print and Play or something, that those already have art and graphic design and stuff on them because I can't stop myself. So we made something that looked fairly decent, and then we brought it to the game group. And at first, I think we were going to try 5, but we had 7 people. So I was like, just throw everybody in there. We'll use these as ships. And I just grabbed other pieces and, other things from other games. And it worked, just worked fine. In fact, we realized we could probably even go to 8 or 9, but you'd start running out of resources too fast.
Right.
Because the turns go by so fast that, even with 7 players, you don't have time to like pick up your phone and check stuff until it gets back to you. Oh, really? My turn? So, and once we realized you could get up to 7, we're like, well, great. That hits a notch that most games don't get to hit unless they're already like kind of party games or 20-minute games or something like that,
Well, and that's the thing, because often, you got a bigger group of friends at the table. It's like, what do we pull out? We pull out party games. We play out we pull out code names or some of these bigger ones. But then Asking has the opportunity to have, a mid-weight. Would you call it a mid-weight game?
Yeah,
for that high player count?
Mid to mid-light.
Mid-light.
In between there somewhere. I mean, everybody has their own, guesses as to how that goes, but I'd probably put it in the mid-light because I tend to play much heavier games.
Right.
And even then, but I enjoy a large spectrum. Like I'll play party games all the way to heavier games, but my favorite is probably around medium heavy. So I'd probably put it in medium light. But for people who tend to stay in the medium light to medium range, they'll probably think it's medium. It's, you know.
Yeah. It's what you're comfortable with, right?
Right.
I should have asked earlier, what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite game?
I've done my own top 20, top 10. I've done my own top 10, and Orleans is my favorite.
Okay.
For now.
I have not played Orleans, but I know it's highly regarded. Mine is this one right there, Everdell.
Oh, did you show? Oh, I could say, yeah, Everdell is really great. The first time I ever played Everdell, I played it wrong. We were at a convention, and I was reading the rules. When you're reading the rules at a convention, which I don't like to do, but when you're doing that, you're kind of rushing it because everybody's waiting for you to, you know. And I missed the part that said to pull back your meeples when you end the season. So I thought once your meeple goes down, that's it for the game. And then you get new ones for the season, but it's locked out those spots.
Oh,
it was
man.
brutal.
It was
really brutal.
I can imagine. Wow. Yeah, Everdell. That's bought in 2020, played it 100 times that year. I'm over 200 plays. I adore the game. But back to Chance of Meeples. Of course, brand new expansions were released this year as well. And not just one, I said expansions, plural. Companions, as well as the asking the troublemakers. And what's the story behind the troublemakers? Because I thought like there was a BGG, like it was on BGG for many years as like just an expansion that didn't exist.
Right. Yeah. So in 2015 was the first time we went to Kickstarter with that. And after the Kickstarter, we want to say we made maybe 49, maybe 50,000 on that one, which again in 2015 was like, okay, it's not impressive. We're seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars. At that point. I think like $200,000 was like a big deal, you know. But it was enough to make, I think we made 1,000 copies. And so made 1,000 copies, but it wasn't enough to do an expansion. But during the Kickstarter, we were trying to get people like excited and stuff. And we had this idea that scientists decide they're going to try to take care of the Trobils situation and make robots to eat the Trobils. And of course, in sci-fi, when you make robots, they always go awry. So they're the trouble makers, you know. So the Trobots are these robots that go around in the expansion in different locations, and you gotta grab them up in different ways. So we came up with that concept, but not exactly the gameplay. And then whenever we only sold like 1,000 copies on Kickstarter, we thought, okay, well, that's not enough for an expansion. So it already sat on BGG. And so it sat there for a while until Breaking Games picked up Trobils for a reprint in 2017. And when they did that, I redid the art. I did the art for both versions. So I saw a chance to redo all the art. So I redid all the art and everything. And when we did that part, that's when the gears started running, like, okay, how do we actually get this to work and stuff? And while we were trying to make that, we were all over the place with it. We even left that concept and came up with the Companions expansion. And then we were thinking, oh, but we really like this whole scientist thing. So we went back and finally figured that one out. So that's how we ended up with two. And we were trying to make one and went off in another direction.
Very cool. So was playtesting very different this time around? Like we made mention that digital playtesting's, am I wrong in saying that the majority of playtesting nowadays is done online versus
it? Yeah, it is for me. We have a game group, but you can't just test play with just 9 people or whatever it is. But we have a small game group, and I don't have a big connection to game groups here in Houston, and I need to. We were all gearing up to go try to make a bigger group for us to play and stuff like that here in Houston, and then COVID hit. So now we got to get ourselves back out there and try to do that.
Right.
We're introverts, so it's kind of hard for us to do that anyway. But Doesn't mean we won't and that we shouldn't, but yeah, we've always like had to go beyond our comfort zone to test play stuff. But whenever the expansions came along, we were, I mean, it was kind of COVID time. It kind of hit in a bad time, you know. I think the Kickstarter was 2020, November 2020, right? So bad time to be trying to do that. So what we ended up doing was, and we do this in all of our play tests, but we always play test at 2 first, and then we create ghost versions. So I'll play A and I'll play B, and she play C and D, and we expand it, you know. And you can split yourself pretty well if you're trying to be true to the experience, you know.
Right.
So we do that a whole bunch until we think we've got it, and then we take it to the game group. And if there's any issues there, it's a blind play test kind of thing. And then, of course, because we could put it on virtual, we could test it with friends and things like that. We took it to, trying to think, we took it to a convention the year before to test it, and we saw a few little things we needed to tweak, but it was really close already a year before. So.
So is this the end now for Ask for Troubles?
As far as I know, yes.
Yeah.
It might not be the end of the universe.
Okay.
Like there could be another game or something like that that's done that's a separate thing, but in the universe or something. But no more expansions or anything like that. So that's why you've got the big orange box behind you. That orange box holds both expansions and everything else. If we created something else, then you'd have to have an even bigger orange box.
I already need a bigger shelf, so
yeah.
I'm happy to hear that. So what's new or what's next for you? Like now that you're with Cardboard Alchemy, what are you doing? Are you still designing? Are you graphic work? What's that look
I
like?
have a game that I designed maybe 2018, 2017. And it's bounced around a bit, and it's about to be signed. It was called Zozimos. It's a 15 to 20 minute game. Real kind of quick. You're either trying to trick people into letting you gain a card, or you're trying to trick them into paying too much for it, that kind of thing. So I've got that. It's about to be signed. I'm told that paperwork is on the way, that kind of thing. I signed a game. I worked on a game with Derek Funkhauser of Board Game Spotlight. And I think Wise Wizards? Wise Wizard Games? But anyway, I worked on a game with him for a while, and that's kind of in a limbo because it was signed by Skybound, and then Skybound kind of reduced their whole board game thing. So we got to figure out a home for that. I've got another game that I'm working on with Cardboard Alchemy, and with Aaron and with Brad from there. And I'm working these are all my designs or co-designs. And I have another one that I'm working with Mike. Well, actually 2 that I'm working with Mike, who's one of my co-hosts on the show at 42. So.
Which we'll get to momentarily. Wow, that is. And then so you're designing all this, and then you still do art direction, you still do graphic design, like
none of that is my job. none of that is my job. That's all off of, that's all my time. What I do at Cardboard Alchemy is I'm working on a project for them, which is going to be their game. I'm trying to think. I think the idea is that it'll come out next year. After their Andromeda's Edge campaign, which they've been drumming up quite a bit. If you've seen it.
Yeah, Luke Laurie. Right?
And I'm helping out a little bit with that as well. But I'm just kind of in an assistant capacity for that, helping Peter Vaughn out where he needs it for that. But I'm working on another. If you know the game Flamecraft, the artist was Sandara. She's working with us for a new game. So
cool. Right. I know, like, the artwork is just really cute and just looks great. And I know people have been going like just bonkers over the artwork, so that's really cool. So you made mention you have a podcast or a show or something. The
YouTube show.
Okay, so what exactly is that?
That is, it's me. It's Mike Giuliano, who he designed with um Richard Lanius the Batman animated series game
Mhm.
for IDW, I think, and Katia Howitson, who does the board game art creations. You've probably seen
Mhm.
all the little meeples come together and make
Yep.
one big thing. Yeah. So we three are the host of the Full 42.
Okay.
Um, for the most part, it's about board games, but sometimes we sneak, like I said, the next one coming up or one in the past for whenever this airs is all about Star Wars. And we'll have Andrew Wolf on there, who is the designer of everything. He's designed a lot of stuff. I think he works for Pokemon right now.
Wow.
He, what's the one with where Thanos is like standing there in the middle, Thanos rising, and then
Thanos
all the
Rising.
other risings.
Yeah.
He's had his hand in a lot of stuff like that. So, big Star Wars guy, and he just got back from Essen, so we'll talk about Essen and stuff like that. We had Scott Alden from Board Game Geek on, not last week, or not this week, but last week. So,
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, just every Monday, you said?
Every Monday, 8 Central, we go live. You can talk to us during it. We'll talk back to you, put your stuff up. And we just kind of go until we're done. So sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes it's 4 hours. Wow. It can, yeah. After a while, we'll just like, we don't have anything else to say. We turn it off,
Very cool.
And I do it live because I don't have time to edit a show or anything like that. So
there are definitely pros to editing, or pros to going live, and pros to not going live.
Yeah.
And so editing can take a lot of time. So if someone wants to know more about what are your socials for the Full 42?
What are my what?
Like your socials, like are you on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
But
I'm actually not that hip when I say your socials. I hear other people saying it. So, I got teenage nieces and nephews, so I got to be cool sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not either. How do you find us on YouTube most likely, or we have a Facebook group that we hardly ever talking to. Honestly, we spend all our time on our Discord.
Okay.
So we have a Full 42 Discord that's linked on every single episode, and we talk about it. Like, come on to our Discord after every episode. After those 3 or 4 hour episodes, we then get on Discord in an audio channel where people can come and talk to us, and our guests and stuff like that. And so it's really longer than that. So
wow, is that a Star Wars reference? Full 42? Like, what is that from?
It's a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference. So
meaning of life, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Again,
when Mike and I were first thinking of the show, Kathy joined us I think the 36th episode in, but when we first started thinking of the show, we were like, what do we name it? Well, we want to talk about everything, and I was like, everything, the universe,
I love that about the companions, or the companions expansion on Ask for Trobils, just all the sci-fi references. And to be totally honest, I didn't even know half of them.
I've never met anyone who has been able to name all of them, because they are all over the place. I tried to reach into every bit of sci-fi knowledge I had.
I loved the alien dude one, how you start with the crystals on his card and you give them away like Reese's Pieces. No,
right? Yep.
I don't know. I thought that was really cool. I was terrified of ET when I was a little boy, but I've gotten over it. I think just the scene where the kid is in the hospital and he's trying to get out of the hospital, trying to get
there's kind of a scary moment at that point. They think he's dead and all that stuff. Yeah, there's some serious stuff there. E.T. was the first movie I remember seeing in the theaters.
Okay.
I think it came out 81, 82, something like that. I was real little.
Wow. Probably I don't remember the first movie that I saw in theaters. It might have been Aladdin or something, Disney cartoon back in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
But
I even remember the theater and which theater in that theater. That theater doesn't exist anymore, right. But there were only 2 theaters in it. It was like a small town theater.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much for taking this time. This has been a lot of fun, and just hearing about, Ask for Troubles. And it's just crazy that I say this like every time that, like so much stuff is put into building a board game, and the ideas that they take. And as you said, if you can get it out within the first week, you probably have that momentum and that stamina to have at it and to keep going. And that's just this whole thing with ideas. I just want to talk to designers and say, like, how did he do it? And like kind of just like the little ins and outs and the cool little backstories. And so I just thank you for taking the time to share about Ask for Troubles. And it's a big orange box. And if you haven't played the game, I will post a link to my review of that game in the description of this video. And if you want to know more about, the full 42, you're big into sci-fi, whatnot, definitely check out Christian's YouTube channel. I'm assuming just YouTube, or just go on YouTube, the full 42, and it'll pop up there.
Sure. Yeah, it should anyway. I hope. It's youtube.com/c/the full 42, I think.
There you are. So, well, thanks so much for joining us this evening. And much like I said at the beginning, community is built on conversation, just like games are built on ideas. My name is Brent. If you want more information, check us out on Facebook, Cloudy with a Chance Meeples. Remember, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a Chance Meeples.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to grab your umbrella because the forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.